Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Virtual Church. Yes, I am sat in a garden chair, and I am indeed sat exactly where the organ once was, in the dining room. Although, let me tell you, from this angle, it now looks very different. Well, it's very good to be back with you. Sorry, it's been a while since I was live. Obviously, I've got some things going on, but it's really good to be back, and I look forward to seeing most of you in the chat, and I'll respond to any questions and anything you say in due course. So what we have tonight is a selection of hymns that have been requested by you. I do apologise, I wasn't able to include all of your requests. Not least because some of them I haven't played before, so I wasn't able to dig them out of the archives. And also because there might have been too many. So I've got a selection, I think quite a good selection, and then we're going to end with a pretty cool organ voluntary. I've got some notes here, I've even prepared some notes. So, shall we have, for the very first hymn tonight, Dear Lord and Father of Mankind, forgive our foolish ways, to the tune Repton, of course. And you all know it's written by Parry. So this has been requested by Palmer Pattison, who says this: this hymn wasn't part of my church tradition. The first time I heard it was on BIS. Hearing it first as an organ solo, I was struck by its melodic flow, especially the peace it evokes. Looking up the lyrics only reinforced that first impression. Submission to God, a plea for forgiveness, a gracious call to follow, a Sabbath rest by Galilee. So the recording that you're going to hear is actually a recording that I made in February 2020. So right back at the very, very beginning. I recorded it with my old church choir, actually, just before lockdown. And the story behind this hymn is the words that we are so familiar with are actually the closing verses of a much longer, wittier poem from 1872, The Brewing of Soma, which described Hindu priests brewing, this is good, an intoxicating drink to work themselves into a religious frenzy, whatever that is. Whittier, who was a Quaker, set that against a quiet, inward worship, ending with the plea to lose the strain and stress and to hear God in the still, small voice of calm, rather than in earthquake, wind, and fire. So, without further ado, let's listen to Dear Lord and Father of Mankind. No, I do apologise for the rather abrupt ending there. But watching that just makes me feel rather, well, it brings back lots of happy memories, because that church choir was such a fantastic group of people. And if you find yourself part of a really friendly community who are supportive and all pulling in the right direction, basically a really efficient team, don't take it for granted. It's a wonderful thing of which to be part. So that was the choir of St John's, Alresford, just before lockdown. Okay, so hymn number 2 comes in from Josh Wilson, one of our very own producers. So it is, O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder. And Josh says that this was one of my grandmother's favourite hymns, and I have such vivid memories of her joining me at church while I practiced the organ. Almost every time she would ask me to play this hymn for her, and she would sing along with so much joy. Hearing it requested and played on Virtual Church always brings those memories back in the best way. That's lovely to hear, Josh. It is a really wonderful to know that things I play and things I do online just trigger happy memories. You know, I never know who's watching, I never know how it's affecting people, and that's just a little insight into how it is affecting yourself, Josh. So this was played on the 1st of September 2024, and the story, the narrative about the words, it began as a Swedish poem written by a lay preacher, Carl Boberg, in 1885, after a violent thunderstorm gave way to calm, just like the last hymn, sunshine and birdsong. It travelled through Germany and Russia before English missionary Stuart Hine wrote his own English version in the 1940s, working in the Carpathian Mountains, and added some verses of his own. The verses move with awe at creation, to the cross, and to Christ's return. Billy Graham's Crusades made it famous worldwide. O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder. Such a cool hymn, that, isn't it? I love the way it ends. I absolutely love it. So thank you very much, Josh, for requesting that, and I hope that triggered some more memories for you. I've had a few questions in the chat about where am I? Well, I am where I have always been, just facing this way, not facing the wall, because the organ used to be here, literally where I am right now. The organ is now about 10 feet over there, because over there is our living room. And our kitchen is about 10 feet that way. The kitchen, the utility room, and the dining room are empty. It's just been plastered. This is new, fresh plaster. It is a building site. It's very, very dusty in here. And everything from these 3 rooms has essentially either gone into the living room or into the garage. The organ has gone into the living room. So you might say I have one of the world's largest ornaments in a living room presently. That's all it is. It's not doing anything apart from standing proud, waiting to be played. And it will be played soon, I hope. So yes, I am in the dining room still. I actually thought there would not be a virtual church from the dining room again, but here we are. We're in the dining room. Okay, so hymn number 3 is a request from Elaine Wyatt, who says this. About 3 years ago, you played All Things Bright and Beautiful with your right hand whilst holding Bobby with your left. It was amazing. I think this hymn is fitting for your upcoming bright and beautiful new music room. Oh, I concur. That's a really nice way to think about it, Elaine. So this was recorded or played on 19th of March 2023. I'm telling you these dates just in case you want to go back through the archives to listen to a specific virtual church. So the story around these words, Cecil Frances Alexandra wrote it in 1848 for her collection Hymns for Little Children, as a way of teaching youngsters the Apostles' Creed. This one unpacks the line, Maker of heaven and earth. Each verse is a little picture of creation, the flowers and birds, the mountains and rivers, the cold wind and the summer sun, ending with the eyes to see it all and the lips to praise the God who made it. Did you know that it also comes from the same collection as Once in Royal David City? So here we go. All Things Bright and Beautiful featuring Bobby. Look, so let's see what happens, shall we? Well done for staying there. That was a bit of a surprise, actually, that you managed to stay there for that entire thing. I thought you would have got bored and wanted to get off, but you stayed there. You stayed very still. You stayed very still. I'm not sure how comfortable you are, because your back paw is slipping down, isn't it? Hmm? She seems to be settled because she just tucks in her pads now. Oh, can you see the cat's still? Oh, Thanks, Bobs. I'm actually now covered in cat hair as well.
She's ruined the moment.
Come on. Come on, you.
She's ruined the moment.
I just wonder whether we're going to be doing that in the new space. I think the idea is we won't be doing that, but I just know inevitably we probably will be doing that. Oh dear, she's a funny one. Anyway, moving on to hymn number 4. Jane, who writes in the chat as Manse Mouse, would like to request "The Day Thou Gavest, Lord, is ended," as we wait for my youngest sister's funeral this coming Friday. Her name was Chrissy, and she was only 58, but had been in very poor health. She was a happy person, a lovely Christian, and fun to be with. Well, Jane, I am truly sorry to hear about your news. And I guess I can only say at this stage, thoughts and prayers are with you, and that I hope the previous video gave you some smiles and comfort, I suppose. So actually, this recording comes from the organ of Tewkesbury Abbey, the real pipe organ of Tewkesbury Abbey, broadcast on the 24th of August 2025. And I'd be interested to know, because you've heard the sample set version of Tewkesbury Abbey so many times now, whether you think the sample set sounds like the pipe organ. I should hope so. So a little bit about the words, just briefly. John Ellerton wrote this evening hymn in 1870 for a missionary service. Its theme is that the church's worship never stops. As earth turns, somewhere it's always dawn. So prayer and praise are unbroken right around the globe. The last verse sets God's everlasting kingdom against earth's proud empires that pass away. It's one of my favourite verses, that. It was sung at Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee and again at Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. The closing verse, I think, Jane, may offer you some comfort. I really, really miss that sample set. I love playing it. It's such a colourful and exciting organ. So that was indeed, Lucy, in Tewkesbury Abbey, which is over in Gloucestershire. Moving on to hymn number 5 now, one of the greatest hymns, I think, written in the 20th century. How shall I sing that majesty which angels do admire? The tune is Coe Fen. And also you'll hear a descant, which was also written by the composer of the tune, Kenneth Naylor. So John Etherington, who requested this hymn, says, in my opinion, simply a good tune. Heard it on a Repton Cathedral YouTube broadcast. I have to say the choir at Repton Cathedral are really quite something special, aren't they? The recording that I'm going to use comes from my little daughter's baptism from Romsey Abbey. We chose this hymn to be the final hymn in the service, immediately before Charlotte was presented with the baptismal candle. And this was on, it was in October 2025, 12th of October. So the words are by John Mason from an 1683 book of devotional songs, drawing on the throne room visions of Psalm 104 and Revelation, where thousands upon thousands stand around the throne. It contrasts the angels who behold God face with the frail, God's face with the frail, faltering praise of one small worshipper. But who am I? And praise that God would kindle faith and love, so the singer can join the heavenly choir. Kenneth Naylor named the tune after a water meadow beside the Leys School in Cambridge, where he taught. And he wrote the descant himself. So this is the choir of Romsey Abbey, plus one or two extras as well, with yours truly on the organ.
now present Charlotte with a lighted baptism candle.
Let me tell you, she was as good as gold on that occasion. We told her that Father Thomas would put magic water on her head, and she was amazingly well prepared. Actually, when she was brought up to the font, she knew exactly what was going to happen. So when Thomas the vicar poured water on her head, she actually leant forwards like that because she was expecting it. And it was a surprise to me when Hugo was also involved. I don't know what he was pouring the water, the blessed water, into the font, and he picked up the jug, and I saw him picking up the jug, and this was before I think Thomas had said anything, and I very, very nearly said, "No, Hugo, stop, don't touch it." But no, it was all planned, and he did amazingly well. A very proud moment for, I think, Caroline and me. Okay, so moving on to hymn number 6 tonight, which was requested by 2 people actually. Eileen Kremin and Michelle, who is one of our very own producers. And Michelle has also contributed something to the camera fund, which is currently going on for the music room. So the music room building itself, the structure is, we managed to raise that £50,000, which is just incredible. But I don't want to use these cameras that I'm using now, so I'm trying to just raise a few pennies just to get some new cameras. They're £6,000, these things, so they're not cheap. That's £6,000 for 6 cameras, by the way. So and that's divided by 2, so I can get 3 at a time. So there's 2 lots of 3,000 something pounds. So as soon as I get to the £3,000 mark, I can then go off and buy 3 cameras, and then I'll get 3 more when I can afford it. Okay, so hymn number 6, so if you want to go and contribute towards that, it's on the BIS website. Perhaps I'll put a link in the chat in a moment. Hymn number 6 is "I bind unto myself today the strong name of the Trinity," which is rather good because I think today is Trinity Sunday, is it not? So Eileen says, "I'm choosing this hymn for the day I'm choosing this hymn because today is Trinity Sunday." There we go. "I love the word painting in this hymn, and it fills me with joy and hope." Michelle says, "Out of any text and tune pairing, this one may be the best. This one may best inspire firm resolve." I do apologise, Michelle. "This one may best inspire firm resolve, like to stare down something directly with steely intensity, refusing to be moved." That grounded confidence comes from the rich theological truth present in every single verse of this hymn, meant to guard and strengthen us, come what may. If any of you need a little bit of extra encouragement this week, this one's for you. Well, this one was played on the 5th of November 2023, and it's an ancient Irish, how do I say this? Lorica or Larissa? Lorica. It's a prayer of protection. Lorica or Larissa is Latin for breastplate. Attributed to St. Patrick himself, tradition says he composed it when a local king tried to stop him spreading the truth or the faith. Cecil Francis Alexander turned it into this hymn in 1889. It binds the singer first to the Trinity, then to Christ's life from birth to ascension, then to the powers of creation, building to the famous Christ be with me, Christ within me, Christ behind me, Christ before me. This is about as fitting a choice for Trinity Sunday as there is. So here we go. I bind unto myself today. Well, that middle section was just, I guess, what was in that hymn book. I don't know which hymn book I was using, but that was what was printed in the hymn book. I didn't realise. Now you've said it, actually, there were maybe several versions of the middle section. But that was, of course, Blackburn Cathedral from 5th of November 2023. Okay, hymn number 7 is To God Be the Glory, Great Things He Hath Done. And it's coming from William Jane, who sings in the Eastleigh Parish Choir, not a million miles from where I am. So, William has said that I've always thought it was a magnificent hymn. The tune is uplifting and memorable. The bass line has a real sense of strength and purpose. And the whole piece seems to build with joy from beginning to end. The words are equally wonderful, expressing praise and thanksgiving in a way that is both encouraging and inspiring. I think it would be an excellent hymn to showcase the new organ, allowing its power and richness to shine through while carrying a message that is so positive and uplifting. For me, it's one of those hymns that never fails to lift the spirits, and I can think of few better choices to grace such a fine new instrument. Well, it's not a new instrument as such, but it's definitely a new setup. So the organ is going into a brand new room, and that was happening very, very soon. In the meantime, I'm going to play you a recording from another pipe organ, and once again we're going to head back to Romsey Abbey. And this comes from my video that I recorded there earlier this year, where I explored the question about a famous hymn that was actually never meant to be sung. If you find that intriguing, go and watch the video. So the words are by Fanny Crosby, the American writer who was blind from infancy and yet produced thousands of hymn texts, with the tune by her regular collaborator William Howard Dunn, published in 1875. Unusually for a gospel hymn, it turns away from personal feeling and points straight at God's glory in redemption. Great things he has done. God giving his Son, the life gate opened so all may go in. And the rousing refrain calling the earth to rejoice. So, to God be the glory, great things he hath done. On the organ of Romsey Abbey, I actually start it fairly restrained before working it right up in the final verse. So we do get there. It really is such a fine organ that it's very smooth and very present in the building. A wonderful organ. And I love playing it for concerts and services alike. Hymn number 8 comes in from Daniel Kubacki. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? And Daniel says, I picked this hymn because we have little zebra finches. We have had our flock for years now. I don't know, what's a zebra finch? Does anyone know? I'm sure someone knows. I might be the only one who doesn't. They bring a lot of joy into our day. I do apologise. They bring a lot of joy into our day-to-day lives. We love our birds. I love watching birds. I hope you enjoy this beautiful hymn. Well, this recording comes from 14th of August 2022, and it's rather shorter than I would have liked, but it is the only time that I could see that I've played it in the past 6 years, more than 6 years now. The problem is, when I was looking back at this recording, it was one of those occasions when I didn't have the refrain and I just played the verse. And because I didn't know the hymn, I didn't know there was a refrain. So I only played the verses until it was pointed out to me in the chat. And then after I had finished, I then said I would play one more verse and the refrain. So I do apologise, Daniel, for not having the whole hymn, but this is the best I could do because I don't know whether you've noticed, but I haven't got access to an organ in here. All right, let's have a go with this hymn. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? I was going to read you the background to the story, to the text, but as I'm not playing all the verses, there's not much point. So anyway, it's a nice tune, even if it is just for one verse. Cuckoo, cuckoo. That was just one verse. So if you want to go and listen to the other verses, go and find my virtual church from 14th of August 2022. But I do only play the refrain once. I do apologise. And yes, I think Barbara says in the chat it's written in D flat major. And actually, funnily enough, after I didn't include it on that recording, but as soon as I finished playing that, I did say I preferred it in D flat because I had just played it in D flat, also with different harmony. And I said that version was better than the one I did eventually play. So big thank you to Andrew, who's just put in some money towards the BIS cameras. And as I said earlier, to Michelle as well. If you could contribute to the cameras, that means I can go out and buy them sooner rather than later. So hymn number 9 now comes in from Lucy Bundy Rowe, who's listening just over the hill, I think, in Wiltshire. Angel voices ever singing around thy throne of light. I love this hymn as I love the descant in it. Not that I could ever sing it. I was a contra-alto. I've really missed your live broadcasts. I never managed to make it to any of the videos as they had always finished by the time the kids were in bed. Well, that's exactly what Caroline's doing now, and hopefully, certainly by now, I would say at least one of them is asleep, but the younger one of the two often takes a little bit longer to go to sleep. So, Lucy, don't you worry, we know exactly what it's like. But I see you in the chat quite a lot, so you're very welcome. So this particular recording was from the 18th of June 2023, and Francis Pott wrote it in 1861 for one specific purpose: the dedication of a new church organ. He even headed it for the dedication of an organ, or for a meeting of choirs. And Edwin Monk wrote the tune for the same occasion. It pictures the angels singing endlessly around God's throne, marvels that God should regard the songs of sinful man, and then offers all skill and craft and music back to him. Ears and hands and voices combined for his praise. Well, you could hardly find a better choice to mark the new music room and the organ going in there, right? Because if this hymn was written for a new church organ, perhaps this should be one of the first hymns we have on the organ in the BIS music room. So here we go. Angel voices ever singing round thy throne of light. Getting a little bit carried away already with the final verses tonight. I will have to rein it in. Otherwise, where do we go from there? I think that's because the hymn was only the second hymn in the virtual church that night. So if I was getting that excited in hymn number 2, what is going to happen after that? All right, so hymn number 10 is "Built on the rock, the church shall stand, even when steeples are falling." And yes, many steeples have indeed fallen over time. There could be a conversation in the chat, perhaps. Which cathedrals or major churches do you know about where their spire has indeed fallen down? So, this is a request from Larayin Dallas. I do apologise if I pronounced your first name incorrectly, Larayin. And they say, as my brother says, if it's in the 1941 hymnal, the 1941 Lutheran hymnal, it is probably going to be okay with us. This one is indeed in the 1941 hymnal and has that sturdiness you've commented on concerning Northern European hymns. It's a good Sunday when we sing it. So this was performed on the 14th of November 2021, which is the recording that was suggested by Larian. This is a great Danish hymn by N.F.S. Grundtvig from 1837, translated into English by Carl Doving, or Doving, probably Doving. The original first line roughly translates to, "The church, it is an old house." The text is built on Matthew 16, and its whole point is that the church is not the building. Steeples fall and spires crumble, but God chooses to dwell with his people, who are themselves his house of living stones, even where only 2 or 3 gather. This hymn is a favourite all the way across Scandinavia, second only to "A Mighty Fortress." All right, so let's have a go with this one. I would read you the title, the tune name, but I daren't, because it's, okay, Kirken dem et gammelt hus. Goodness me, that's totally wrong. Built on the rock, the church shall stand, even when steeples are falling. it's really bizarre looking back at that, because it just feels like, to me, watching me play that Viscount is where I currently am in life. Like, I still have the Viscount and I still live in 2021, and that's what I'm doing. And it's very bizarre just to step back into reality and find myself here in the dining room, which is now an empty shell apart from all the builders' equipment down here. And just to see where BIS has come, and also where it's going over the coming months into the new space, it just really knocks me sideways, really. How our journey together has just been life-changing, I think, for me, definitely for me, and I do know that also for some of you as well, from what you've said in your very personal and very open emails to me. So it's a really wonderful thing. So I just wouldn't change anything about this for the world. Hymn number 11 has come in from Charlie, who you'll recognise as a Bachwood's fellow. Great play on words, or play on names, but goes by the name of Charlie. He's asked for, God is working his, oh, I hit the microphone, I do apologise. God is working his purpose out as year succeeds to year. Now he says this hymn has a very distinct canon between the soprano and pedal, which doesn't exactly lend itself to sight reading. You played it in your marathon when I played Sing Unto the Lord, the most recent marathon. But by then, you were about 26 hours in. I was just getting started, Charlie. Also, you seemed to not be familiar with this tune, stating a preference for the better-known Bensen tune. Oh, this is a bit. You managed to mostly pull it together by the third time through, but I would love to hear you have a go at it fresh and practiced to bring out that canon flawlessly. So Charlie very politely says that by the third time, I mostly pulled it together. I've always enjoyed this hymn to the tune of Purpose, due to that awesome canon, but also due to the words which give us a strong promise that God is indeed working his purpose out, even in times such as these, when we can look all around us and sometimes wonder if God is even still in the game. Well, this performance, I don't remember playing it three times in my marathon, because I had a rule that I only played 2 verses. So maybe it was so bad that I thought I'll give it another go. And then by the 3rd verse, as Charlie says, it was mostly right. So the recording that I've managed to dig out was from the 31st of December 2021. And I was watching this back, and it reminded me, because some of these recordings I've not seen since I broadcast them. So this one was nearly 5 years ago, nearly 4.5 years ago. And so we started the virtual church late at night, I think at 10 o'clock or 10:30 or something. And we actually went right through to beyond midnight. And when we got to midnight, I was playing Vienne's Carillon de Westminster. And I tried to time it so that when the midnight hour struck, bong, I just reached the climax. I think I just about managed it. So if you want to go and check that out, that's the 31st of December 2021. So the text, Arthur Campbell Anya, who was a master at Eton, wrote it in 1894 as a tribute to the Archbishop of Canterbury. Every verse closes with the same line drawn from the Habakkuk and Isaiah. When earth shall be filled with the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. When the earth shall be filled with the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. It is a confident missionary hymn, God as the Lord of history, working his purpose out as the years pass and the time draws nearer and nearer, with the honest reminder that all our effort comes to nothing unless God blesses it. That time is drawing near. That theme is a gift for a New Year's Eve broadcast, which is why I played it on New Year's Eve. Or maybe why someone requested it on New Year's Eve. So here we go. God is working his purpose out as year succeeds to year to the tune Purpose. Let's see what you think to my playing. I don't remember how this performance went. So let's see whether I get it mostly right. And that was obviously one of those occasions where I played both tunes to see which one the audience prefers. And I would wonder, as you're chatting now, which tune do you prefer? The tune Purpose, which was the first one, or the second tune, Bensen? Both very different tunes. Obviously one's in a minor key and one's in a major key. One has a canon between the treble and the bass, and one does not have a canon between the treble and bass. Moving on to hymn number 12. If thou but suffer God to guide me, and hope in him through all my ways. The tune is called Neumark, and it's been requested by Richard Widdicombe, who's in New York. And Richard says that I know the title to this tune has been updated. I guess the German one, original one, but so updated to Neumark. But Richard says that he still likes the original words. Wenn nun den Lieben Gott last wollten. Anyway, I suggest this hymn because it is kind of a rock on which to steady ourselves in these uncertain times. So Richard didn't specify a particular recording, but the one I found was on the 15th of January 2023. Both words and tune are by George Neumark, written in 1641. As a young man travelling to university, he was robbed by bandits of almost everything he owned. And after a long and demoralizing search for work, he unexpectedly landed a post as a tutor and wrote this song of consolation that very day, out of sheer thankfulness. Suffer here means allow. The hymn urges trust in God's providence through hard times because, as it puts it, whoever trusts in God's unchanging love builds on the rock that nothing can move. And this chimes in with exactly Richard's own reason. So, if thou but suffer God to guide thee, and hope in him through all my ways. It's a very strong tune, that, isn't it? Very strong. Sitting on this chair for an hour and a half without a cushion, starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. I should have brought the cushion in. The garden furniture isn't designed to be comfortable for more than a couple of hours, is it? I don't think. So hymn number 13 tonight comes in from our very own James Palmer. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies. Tune's called England's Lane. We have recently been having some very sunny weather here in the UK, and although I am not usually a fan of either heat or bright light, I must say it has made a welcome change from the dull, rainy skies we have had so far this year. Both my parents have recently celebrated their 80th birthdays. As I was up staying with them, we went for a small hike through Banstead Woods in Surrey, which was carpeted most of the way through by beautifully fragrant bluebells. In 1863, an Englishman named Folliot Pierpoint sat on a hilltop outside his native city of Bath in Somerset, admiring the country view. Inspired by the view to think about God's creation, God's gifts in creation and in the church, Pierpoint wrote this hymn. So I have chosen this hymn mostly for the words which reference skies, trees, flowers, and the joy of human love. However, I think the tune is beautiful too. Well, the story of this is that James has given us a bit of an insight. But as he said, Pierpoint wrote it in 1864 and was inspired by the view over the countryside around Bath on a fine spring day. It's a hymn of thanksgiving that works through the gifts of creation, the skies and hills and trees and flowers, then the joy of human love between parent, child and friend, and then the gift of the church itself. Each verse answered with an offering of grateful praise. I think James's bluebells and family birthdays sit right inside this hymn's narrative and its world. So this particular recording comes from 26th of November 2023. The tune was called England's Lane. When I was going back through my recordings to find one for James, most of my performances, all of them, apart from that one, were to the tune Dix. But actually in the NEH, the words for The Beauty of the Earth are to that tune. So for me, growing up with the NEH, that tune and those words go hand in hand. But thank you very much, James, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon, I expect. Okay, so this is actually now our final hymn before we go into our organ piece, which has not entirely been requested, but there's a reason why I've chosen this particular organ piece, but more about that in a moment. I've saved the best until last. Is that fair to say? Well, verse 1, I think, makes this the best. And you'll see what I mean. This has been requested by John Cruikshank. He actually sent in 2 requests, but this one, he said, has replaced his first one. If you're watching, John, good evening, my friend. Are you keeping well? So John says this: when I went to bed at 8 o'clock, he says, I am 6 weeks off turning 87 and I need my rest. Don't we all? I put on one of your 2 CDs. Tonight's, he put on, was Carols from Blackburn Cathedral. It opens with Once in Royal David's City. I lay there listening particularly to the last verse. Not in that poor lowly manger, with the oxen standing by, we shall see him, but in glory, set at God's right hand on high. I had a cardiac arrest in September, and being that close to death at my age sharpens your senses. This is the most comforting verse in Christian hymnology. I, John Cruikshank, will see him in glory in the near future. I have nothing to fear in that the Christ I love, who died for me and whom I have served for 55 years as a Presbyterian minister, has called me into his church with sins forgiven through his cross. I now fall asleep in peace. This might be more useful than when he cometh. Very powerful words there, John. Thank you. Well, this recording is not from the Blackburn Cathedral recording that I did. This one is from St Edmundsbury Cathedral, recorded in December 2021, if you want to go and watch that. That was an early one, so some of you newcomers may not have seen it. So, this is another of Cecil Francis Alexander's 1848 children's hymns, as we mentioned earlier. This one illustrating the creeds Born of the Virgin Mary. It tells the Nativity very simply: the cattle shed, the manger, Mary the mother, and draws the lesson that Christ knew a poor and humble childhood, much like our own. The final verse, the one that John was holding on to, lifts from the stable up to heaven, that we shall see Christ at last, not in that poor lowly manger, but set at God's right hand on high. A fitting and a very moving moment as we come to the end of our broadcast tonight. So thank you very much, John. So here we go. It's Wandston Royal, David City, with a very familiar face and indeed a familiar voice to sing verse 1.
Once in royal David city stood a lowly cattle shed, where a mother laid her baby in a manger for his bed. That mother mourned, Jesus Christ, her little child.
Well, those solo reeds really pack a punch, don't they? They're extremely loud here because they are placed just above the organist's head, right here, and they're really, really quite exciting. Well, if you want to go and check out the rest of that broadcast, head over to December 2021. Okay, so I had a request from Rich Nowinski for quite simply the Lord's Prayer, and I thought to myself, what does he mean by the Lord's Prayer? Because there are hundreds, thousands of settings of the Lord's Prayer, and my mind was immediately drawn to the Lutheran. Is it a Lutheran chorale? Vater unser in Himmelreich. And I thought, I've played that. But I know an organ piece which is based on that. And it's a rather fine organ piece by Mendelssohn. So, Mendelssohn's Sixth Organ Sonata in D minor. This is the final item tonight. This will act as the organ voluntary. It's based on that chorale, Vater unser in Himmelreich, which is German for Our Father who art in heaven. The organ sonata opens with the chorale, just in very straight form. So we hear the chorale presented unaltered, and then Mendelssohn proceeds through several variations on the tune, allowing the organist to explore the organ through various colours and registration. This organ is the organ of Truro Cathedral, one of the finest untouched large Father Willis organs in the world, really. And it's well maintained, and it's fabulous. It really is up there with one of the greats. It's nicknamed as the Little Giant because its relatively modest specification makes you wonder in disbelief how an organ of such modest size creates such an awesome and thrilling sound. That was why Father Henry Willis was such a master at his art, making an organ sound insanely powerful with actually not very much. So Rich says in his email, I love the Lord's Prayer. It's a prayer for all of us at all times in our journey. My wife and I are in a transition of moving in our first brand new home on the 23rd of June this year. Sold our last home last week after living there for 28 years. We will be celebrating our 51st anniversary on the 21st of June. Congratulations. Meanwhile, we have 3 more weeks of staying in our daughter's camper. It sounds very much like what we're doing. We're just making do at the minute. It's a bit tight, but it does provide shelter. Amen. I have to literally put my Allen organ in the dumps since it didn't work for the past 2 years. Just thrown it out. And he's hoping to get a three manual Rogers studio organ next year. Well, fingers crossed. He says, God bless you, Richard. I love your arrangement of Interstellar. Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Of course, that was on the organ of Salisbury Cathedral, which has gone a little bit viral, that video, I think. So this is the 6th organ sonata by Mendelssohn. It's a 6th of 6. There are 6 organ sonatas. And these, so I've written here, so Rich asked the Lord's Prayer. Mendelssohn's 6th organ sonata is, I think, the perfect answer because the whole sonata is based around the Lord's Prayer. Vater unser in Himmelreich, Luther's chorale, his setting of the Lord's Prayer. Mendelssohn wrote his 6 organ sonatas for an English publisher, Novello, as a set of variations, as a set of voluntaries published in 1845. And they did more to revive the organ repertoire than anything since that of Bach. The 6th states the chorale plainly, then moves through a set of ever more brilliant variations, a fugue on the chorale's opening phrase, and a quiet, consoling finale in the major key, which always catches out the audience. A serene and fitting note, I think, to end tonight's broadcast. And once again, Rich, many congratulations on your 51 years of marriage, and good luck for your house move. So after this, I will end Virtual Church tonight. I do hope that you've enjoyed the program tonight. I guess it's been a reel of highlights over the past 6 years, 14 hymns and an organ voluntary. Thank you very much to Brian, who's just put a very generous donation into the BIS cameras. And I think actually now, Brian, that might mean I can go and, yes, I can actually now go and buy 3 cameras because we're halfway there. So that's fantastic. 53% there. So thank you so much, Brian. Thank you also to everyone else who has donated in the live chat as well. Thank you actually to everyone who's just come with me on this journey. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sat in this wooden, very hard, uncomfortable teak garden chair in the dining room, waiting for this room to be decorated into once again a dining room. Because as you know, it was an organ room, it was a playroom, it was everything. And the organ was far too big for this space. Those of you who came here saw, and actually a lot of people said who came here, ooh, well, they were very politically or diplomatic, or oh, it looks much bigger on the telly. Well, I know the room wasn't very big, but it was a very comfortable space, cozy space. So thank you so much for joining me. I do hope that you enjoy this final piece tonight. After this, I will end the show. So here we go. Mendelssohn's 6th organ sonata played live during an organ recital on the organ of Truro Cathedral. Good night, everyone. You take care, and as always, you stay safe. Cheerio.